Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It's 6 o'clock here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, May the 28th, a Friday morning. We made it. And this is one child abuse survivor to another. I'm just happy to be here. This is a 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And my chat room is open if you want to go sit in there and hang out. And we'll just continue on. I wanted to talk about cutting and self-injury. This is an article I found from helpguide.org at http://www.helpguide.org. And it's a great article. I like HelpGuide's website. They have just everything that you can think of there regarding life's challenges, right? And on their website they say helpguide.org, understand, prevent, and resolve life's challenges. There's everything on that website really regarding what could come up in a person's life, learning how to handle stress, learning how to manage, our stressful lives that we have. Especially today, so many people are so busy, trying to work 2 jobs or even just one full-time job and just trying to make ends meet. And there's all kinds of great information on there for people on how to learn how to cope and parenting. If people are having parenting issues, they just need somewhere to turn. It's a great website for that as well. There's all kinds of information on there regarding child abuse, which I really like, and I think that's great that they've included that. And all kinds of things like eating disorder information and reasons why people use illegal drugs, just everything, and resources and links to get help. So it's a great website. So we'll just take a look at finish this article, cutting and self-injury, and I think it's so important that we talk about it because so many people do that, and it's a means of coping and other issues really surrounding it. And adult survivors of child abuse will sometimes do that. They don't always do that, but sometimes they do in order to cope with their past. And I just thought we'd take a look at it. There are healthier ways to cope, and so I know myself that I wanted to self-injure. When I was younger, I actually did a little bit of it, but now that I as an older adult, about 3 years ago, I was going to again and decided not to because I really had to take a look at the situation. I had come far enough at looking at the abuse that I suffered as a child, and made the decision not to injure myself, and also to not think about ending my life. So at that point, I really started to realize that I needed to have a good life and not hurt myself. And there was reasons that I wanted to do it, and I had to take a look at the reasons of why I was wanting to do that. And then, so as I started doing that, I was able to kind of overcome that. And that's why I hope that other people will do the same and, be able to walk free from that and find better ways to cope, right? It's so important. And so that's what I wanted to do, is finish up that article. I'm not a professional counselor. I don't hold any counseling certificates, therapist certificates. I'm just a private citizen who pays to do this blog talk show, mainly because I think the issues surrounding child abuse are not talked about enough. And there are voices out there talking about it, but the whole issue is we need everyone's voice out there talking about it, whether you've been abused or not, whether you have children or not. Child abuse is an epidemic worldwide, not just in North America, but worldwide. But with North America, we have all kinds of money being, funded to, agencies and government agencies and whatnot to try to stop child abuse, and it's still happening. In other parts of the world, they don't have any funding for it, and they actually don't have any laws surrounding it. But even with all of the laws and the money that's pumped into the system, which is about $104 billion a year, we see that it's still going on. It's still a huge problem, and I think it's just going to take everyone to start talking about it, to stop it, and to find ways to actually stop and prevent child abuse. So I just want to be one more voice out there to add to all the other voices, thank God, that are out there talking about it, right? And to to show people that we're no lesser of people, or no lesser of just because we were abused as children. You know what I mean? I think people look at people who have survived child abuse as if they're lesser than, or there's something wrong with them. As far as what was wrong with us is that somebody has abused us and we have suffered at the hands of another person. But that's really and then the issues that surround it, right? But we're no lesser than, you know what I mean? We're people just like everybody else. We deserve a chance to have a good life, and but yet it's not going to fall into our laps. We're going to have to really work for it, and that's why I always suggest that people just reach out, keep reaching out and getting help. Find a good counselor or therapist if you can. If you can't do that, there's online groups that are free to join, and you can join anonymously. You don't even have to give your name, and you have to give your name to the actual the owner of the actual website, but on the actual chats and whatnot, you can set your account up with like a fake name, and that way people don't have to know who you are, and you can participate in some online group sort of support. So it's so important to get help, right? Just instead of suffering in silence, which is what a lot of us do for so many years, right? And then that kind of contributes to the whole factor of these, adult survivor issues that could be going on in our lives. And I think that, sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. Quite often family members are not supportive, especially dysfunctional family members like mine. Everyone in my family is dysfunctional, so it's not like I'm going to get a lot of support there. And so, and as far as friends go, I pushed most of them away because I didn't feel that they were there for me to back me up, and some actually dropped me when they found out I was abused and didn't want anything to do with me. So that's the whole issue. Quite often we suffer along in silence. Nobody knows what we're going through. It's just a good idea to have someone to talk to and get into a group. I really like online group support because, you can talk to people who have been through similar situations, and they always want the best for you because that's the whole issue. They're trying to heal as well. And so it's very supportive, and it's nice to have someone to talk to, for sure. So that's why, I do this show, just to be one more voice out there to talk about child abuse, awareness and prevention, education regarding child abuse, and what we're going to have to do to stop this, and just to be one more voice in this whole, proactive fight to win this fight against child abuse, right? So that's why I'm doing these shows. So, if the topic of abuse bothers you, then you must turn the show off. You have to listen at your own discretion because that's what we're talking about. And if you're a young person under the age of 18, I really suggest and I ask that you have someone listen to the show who's an adult, someone who, you trust, like, hopefully you have a parent who cares about what you're listening to and doing online. I really hope so, because you could save your life if you get the education on how to stay safe online. And, if you don't have a parent who cares or who's there for you, or caretaker, a caregiver, then maybe you could have someone like a coach, a mentor, a guidance counselor at school, someone to listen to the show, even an archive, just to see if that would be something that you should be listening to, right? Because I don't know where the players are nowadays. Because it's so important. You want to keep yourself safe when you're online and know what you're listening to and know if it's okay if you listen to it, right? So we'll get right on into the show here. We were looking at yesterday reasons for self-injury, and it says, why do they do it? There's many reasons why people self-injure, whether it's, cutting themselves, pulling their hair, piercing, multiple piercing and tattooing, just breaking their bones. There's many, many reasons why people do things like this, and some of them are, just to regulate, excuse me, my voice is terrible, regulate strong emotions or distract from emotional pain. Sometimes people do these things to express things that cannot be put into words, to exert a sense of control over a person's body, right? And a history of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse is also another reason. And self-soothing behavior. Some people find it that it's they care for their wounds after they've cut themselves, and it makes them feel like they're doing something good for their bodies, right? But there's better ways to learn how to cope, right? And it says here, self-injury is an addiction, and I want to take a look at that. That's the next part of the article. It says becoming a habitual self-injurer is a progressive process, and I'll just read through this here. The first incident of self-injury may occur by accident or after finding out about others who engage in this behavior. The person has strong feelings such as anger, fear, or anxiety before an injuring event, and these feelings build and the person has no way to express or address them directly. And then it says cutting or other self-injury provides a sense of relief, a release of the mounting tension. A feeling of guilt and shame usually follows the event, and the feelings of shame paradoxically lead to continued self-injurious behavior. And then the next time a similar strong feeling arises, the person has been conditioned to seek relief in the same way. This is kind of how somebody gets into self-injuring, it sort of gets addicted to it, right? The person feels compelled to repeat self-harm, which is likely to increase the frequency and degree. And the person hides the tools used to injure and covers up the evidence, often by wearing long sleeves. Endorphins, especially enkephalins, contribute to the addictive nature of self-injury. It says here, when a person injures themselves, endorphins, excuse me, endorphins are released in the body and function as natural painkillers. The behavior may become addictive because the person learns to associate the act of self-injury with the positive feelings they get when endorphins are released in their system. The use of SSRI medications, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors such as Prozac and Zoloft may be helpful in increasing brain serotonin levels and reducing self-injury in cases of moderate to severe depression. Now, this is just what they were saying here. Then they said here, FDA suicide warning. In May 2007, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, recommended a new warning label for all antidepressant medications. The current black box label includes a warning about the increased risk of suicidal thinking and behavior in children and adolescents. The FDA wants to expand this warning to include young adults from ages 18 to 24. Children and young adults should also be monitored for the emergence of agitation, irritability, and unusual changes in behavior, as these symptoms can indicate that the depression is getting worse, and the risk of suicide is particularly great during the first 1 or 2 months of treatment. And that's just so sad, you know what I mean? So let's talk about that. Self-injury and suicide. We'll just read through here. Self-injury is usually not suicidal behavior, but rather a way to reduce tensions. Inflicting physical harm on oneself is a poorly learned coping mechanism which is used to communicate feelings and self-soothe. Self-injury is strongly linked to a poor sense of self-worth, and over time that depressed feeling can spiral into a suicidal attempt. Sometimes self-harm may accidentally go farther than intended, and a life-threatening injury may result, which is why intervention and professional help is required sooner rather than later. And that is just so sad, you know, people, I just think suicide is just not the answer, you know what I mean? And I have, my brother committed suicide at the age of 33, and, you know, I just know what it did to me when he did that, and, you know, he had no way to ever find a good life or find his happiness or find some peace in his life, you know, because he took his life. And so when he went, you know, he was a tortured, tormented person at the age of 33, a 33-year-old young man, you know what I mean, who was really like 100 years old. He had lived such a horrible life, you know. He was abused as a child, grew up to abuse himself, like using drugs and whatnot, and, you know, never had a good life, right? The guy never, I don't know if he ever had a good life. I don't think that he did. He was very talented. He played music, he played the guitar, he was in a band, he was very talented and gifted, and yet he was tortured and tormented, and could not find a better way than to end his life. And so I really fight for people to live, you know what I mean, just like myself. Suicide is never the answer. And so if you're depressed, then that means you have to get help, and you have to reach out, and you have to, you know, who cares what people would think if you got help, or you went to a therapist, or if I did, you know what I mean? That's nobody's business. And if they were really your friends and really supportive, then they would be there with you. That's the whole issue. So if you don't have people in your life who are pushing for you to be well, to get some help, you know, then you need to do it yourself and stay alive. You know what I mean? And I like, you know, there's some great websites out there. Kevin Caruso has a great website, www.suicide.org, and there's all kinds of great websites out there. You know, suicide is never the answer. And now my brother, because he committed suicide, has no way to ever know what it's like to have a good life on this planet. He has no way to ever get to feel the feelings of worth, you know, being loving ourselves, feeling good about life, waking up in the morning thinking, hey, this is great, you know, I get another chance to make it better, and in my world and for everybody else too around me. And you know, he's never going to know what it's like, you know what I mean? And he had never had any children or married that I know of, and you know what I mean? So he's never going to be able to experience having a family, and our family life was so dysfunctional and so unhealthy and abusive that he would never know what it was like to have a good family life, you know what I mean? And to know what it's like to love people and to have someone love you back, you know. He had friends, I'm sure he did, when he was older, and probably just right up until he killed himself. I know he had some friends, And it's just unfortunate that he could not stay here with us. You know what I mean? And that's why I just ask people to fight to live, because that's what I started doing, about 3 years ago. I mean, talk a lot about it, but that's because it's so important. For years I was thinking about killing myself, and I was I was thinking when I was working in the Grand Canyon at the age of about 26 years old that I should just drive my car over the edge. People do that, believe it or not. Terrible, absolutely terrible. But that was just one thought, because I was working in the Grand Canyon for almost a year, and it just entered my mind as I knew other people had been driving off the edge. I thought, hey, there's my ticket to freedom. And the whole issue is I was in so much pain in my heart that to me that sounded good. To be free from the pain, right? But I'm so glad that I held on for another 14, 15 years, because now I'm fighting to live instead of fighting to die. And so that's why I would hope everybody would do the same thing and just stay here with us. And if you ever start to think that you don't belong here, or that you'd be better off somewhere else, well, you got to make peace with yourself, you know what I mean? And you got to make peace with this life, because otherwise you'll just continue to flounder on in that whole depression. And it's really up to us. We have to do it ourselves. No one's going to do it for us. My brother, I don't know if he expected that someone would pop this great life into his lap and say, there you go, bro, or some friend would come along and say, hey, I can make it better for you, because you know what, they can't do it. I've actually wanted people to do that for me too. I wanted friends to take away the pain. I was hoping that somebody would be able to take away my pain, and they couldn't do it, because they can't. How could they, right? Now, it was great they were in my life, and especially the ones who I actually loved and who actually loved me, you know what I mean, in the past, some friends that I've had. But there's no possible way they could take away your pain. They can provide joy for a little while. They can provide a good, if you're having fun and you're doing some great things, going to the movies or hanging out, going out, they can provide that joy, but it's very temporary if you don't have peace in your heart, because they go home and then you're stuck with yourself. And see, that's what happened. My brother was stuck with himself. So he was 33 when he killed himself, and he had tried before when he was younger. So he was in his 20s and early 30s when he was trying to commit suicide, and who knows how many times he tried. We know of at least 2. So I wouldn't doubt that there were more times. And the thing is we can't expect someone else to take away our pain, but what we have to be proactive and find the help that we need, first of all, with a counselor, a therapist, or a group support, somebody, and we have to go and learn how to get along in this life, and then learn how to cope with the issues that we've had to deal with, which is horrible, absolutely horrifically stupid what people do to their children and cause their children to feel these things, you know what I mean, and then cause them to have these horrible adult lives trying to get over this stuff. And that's why I fight for child rights, and I'm standing up against child abuse and fighting to prevent and stop child abuse, right? It's so important. So the whole issue is if you're thinking about suicide, don't do it. And I'm telling you, you hang on there with everything that you have, and you fight to live, because I'm not, that was my thing. I just didn't want my parents to win this fight. They won with my brother and my other brother, who died of a drug overdose in a shelter here in Calgary. He was a 44-year-old man who had a horrible life of drug use and abuse from his parents, abuse on the streets, and he was just an abused man. He had never, ever had a good life himself. And so, 2 of my siblings just went to their graves in this mess, you know what I mean? And it was all started back, when they were born into this household of hell that we grew up in. So really quite sad what happens to people, and I know firsthand what it's like. So that's why I'm saying, I also know how to stay alive, because 3 years ago I decided I was not going to let my parents win this fight, that I was going to win. I don't care about my parents, and really, I've forgiven them, and to be honest with you, I love them. And if you check out my book, you can kind of read about that, but the thing is they are not the be-all and end-all of my life. And I choose who I keep in my life now, you know what I mean? And I don't allow people to mistreat me, and I care about myself now, whereas I didn't used to. And I learned how to fight to live instead of fight to die. So that's the whole issue, and I hope everybody will do that and join me and stay here and have a good life, because we can. But we have to walk it out, and we have to be proactive in searching for the help that we need, whether it's whether a person needs medication, whether a person needs some different kinds of treatment. or if you just need some help in finding some, group support where you just need someone to talk to, which is was really my case. I just needed somebody that I could talk to about all this. You know what I mean? So, it's so important to get help, right? And to learn that we can have a good life, but we have to do it ourselves. There's nobody going to come along and take away our pain. They just can't. But we can find help in the proper areas, and then learn how to actually kind of overcome it. You know what I mean? And that's what I've been working on for the last 3 years, and I've come a long, long way. So I would hope everybody would just join me and stay here, and because I want to know at the finish line what it's like to have a good life, and I also want to fight and push for other children who are being abused right now, and that's why I'm doing what I do with I'm a Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and just all a child advocate, just out there fighting for child rights and standing up for children. Because I want to be a voice for the voiceless, you know what I mean, and I want to help to make some positive changes in this world so that children won't have to suffer the way that I did, or that these other poor children out here who are horrifically suffering from horrific abuse, being stabbed and murdered and killed at the hands of their parents and caregivers. It's just horrible. So this is the thing. They deserve a good life too, just like I do. And so that's why I thought, hey, why should I just be concerned about myself and not think about other people? You know what I mean? Like, why would I just be concerned about myself and not care enough to get involved to stand up for children's rights and stop child abuse? You know what I mean? And especially being abused, it really bothers me that I was sitting on the sidelines just feeling sorry for myself for so many years. And then 3 years ago I thought, what am I doing? I'm wasting valuable time. I should be helping to stop this stupid epidemic from happening to other children, and by promoting education and awareness and prevention of child abuse and looking for answers, and helping in the local communities, which I haven't gotten to be able to do yet, but I will be. And I plan on doing this for the rest of my life, so I'm not in a rush because I have to pace myself, right? So the whole, a person can only do so much in a 24-hour period, and I work full time, and my sweetheart is terminally ill, and so I'm busy kind of trying to just to be with him and to help him out as much as I can. And I'm just a person just who has to work and everything else and do laundry and all that. But in the meantime, I have hours upon hours that I can try to do whatever I can, and that's what I decided to do with my time, with my spare time. It's to try to help people, because I know there's so many people out there suffering in this situation right now. And so that's why I'm doing what I do. So that's why I would hope that you would stay here and with us. And if you're ever contemplating suicide, don't ever do it. Suicide is never the answer. It's not the way. It's just not a good way out. My bro went to his grave at the age of 33 with no opportunity to ever find that love, or that love in his heart for himself and for life, And that's just so sad. He might have loved other people, but he was probably unable and incapable of loving himself and knowing what it's like to feel like, hey, I do matter, I do count. I should be here and I should be helping people. He was very talented. Like I was saying, he was a musician and he played the guitar, and he was an awesome guy, and it was just terrible to see the way that he went down. And then, there were a few tears shed, and of course the family was upset. But the thing is now nobody even mentions his name. The only person that talks about him is me. And the only person that talks about my brother Howard is me. Nobody else cares, right? They didn't, they were like, well, they were just drug users. They were just losers, Look what they did with their lives. Instead of thinking back to the past when they were just innocent young boys who were warped by two people, my parents, who warped their minds so badly that they could not cope or function on this earth. And people just refuse to take a look at that because they don't want to think about my parents as being that way. But my parents were two of the biggest abusing people on this planet. And, they didn't stab us, but they stabbed us every single day with hatred, beatings, cursings, no love. You know what I'm saying? Like, they stabbed our hearts every single day that we lived. And my dad's still doing it today, even though he doesn't realize it because he's mentally ill. So the whole issue is people just don't take a look at what's going on with people, and they don't think about things like that. So, if you were abused as a child and you're having a hard time, if you need to contact somebody, you contact me, because I can at least provide some resources and try to send you in the right direction to get some help, right? Just make sure you reach out to somebody, right? And you can get a hold of me on Blog Talk Radio or wherever you can find me. I'm on Facebook. People can find me, and if you need to chat, you need somebody to talk to, man, I'm the person, because I know I've been there. And at least I can at least try to help you find some information, right? That and steer you in the right direction and be an ear. You know what I mean? So this is the whole issue, right? Make sure you reach out to somebody, right? And so I want to spend the last few minutes talking about something just so awesome. I have J.L. Godfrey on my show tomorrow. He's joining me as a guest, and I'm so happy about this. He's an awesome. He's a man you don't want to miss, man. I'm telling you, he's got a Blog Talk Radio show as well. And he's got a book out, and it's an e-book. It's called Living an Uncommon Life. And you can find it on his website at JL. Let me just get that information for you. www.jlgodfrey.com. And you can get this book. It's called Living an Uncommon Life for a $5 donation. Because what he's doing is he's going to go on national. He wants to go on national radio, over the airwaves. And this book is awesome. I read it, and it's 5 steps to go from good to great. And it's really it's a book on how to go from a common life, which is just not living the life that really you could be living, right, or I could be living, to go to a great life, and to go after our dreams and attack our dreams and go after them. And not wait and sit around and think, oh, well, I'll, procrastinate and put it off, and then just wonder at the end of the road why you didn't do something when you know that it was really meant for you to do. And so I really like this book. It's really awesome. It's very positive. It's a positive message for people who need to hear it, let me tell you. So I hope you will join us. It's going to be at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 12 noon Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I would hope you would tune in. It's for an hour. And J.L. Godfrey, he's a minister of the gospel. He's a life coach. He's an entrepreneur, author. He's a founder of an apparel company. And he's the host and a producer of his Blog Talk Radio show called Make It Happen Radio Show. And it's www.blogtalkradio.com/Make It Happen Radio. So I would check that out. He is awesome to listen to. I've already heard one of his shows, a couple of his shows actually. He's a husband. He's a father. He played varsity basketball. He attended Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan. And he's got a great website. So check his website out, www.jlgodfrey.com. And really what he is he's a life coach. He's a positive speaker. He talks about living the life really that God intended us to live, and and how to go about getting it, and just pushing for people to have a good life. That's why I like J.L. Godfrey, because I like anybody who's pushing for people to have a good life, and who causes us to think about what's going on inside of us and how to have this good life. And I tell you, when I saw this, and when he said he would be a guest on my show, I was very excited, because I'm telling you, that's what I'm pushing for all the time, is for people to have a good life. And I keep saying it, we all deserve to have a good life. But this guy knows how to go about doing it, and he also has some great information for us. So I hope you will tune in, and that's tomorrow. That's yeah, it is. It's tomorrow, Saturday, the 29th. It already snuck up on us. I can't believe that. This week has gone so fast. So I have about a minute left, and I hope you will tune in tonight to Dreamcatchers Talk Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's www.blogtalkradio.com/Dreamcatchers. And tonight is Donna Shear and myself. Donna Shear is the president of Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. She's also a best-selling author. She is working her tail off for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. And we're going to both be on the show tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for an hour. And then I'll be on after that with my show, which is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us, and that's directly sort of after the show. So, I hope you have, whatever you do this weekend, make sure you take care of yourselves. And, keep hanging in there, keep holding on to that hope, and keep walking forward. Stay focused on this journey. Do not allow yourself to regress. Just move at your own pace in your healing journey, One day at a time really is all we can do. And I just say, for every day, that I get to keep moving forward on my healing journey, is just one more day that I'm closer to the finish line of, learning how to have this good life, And so that's why I hope you will just walk it with me and just stay with us and get the help that you need. We keep reaching out, and we do count, we do matter, and I keep telling people that because if you were never told that as a child or a young person, you need to hear it now. You do count, and you do matter. You do matter to me, and you count to me, and so that's why I'm saying, and you have to count to yourself and matter to yourself too, or it won't work. So make sure you keep hanging in there and have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon, and all the best. Bye-bye.